Hey, it's Brian and Chris here from Resolve Technology, and today we're going to talk about Microsoft Entra ID. We've talked about this in the past, and Chris has gone through and shown some screens of the portal and conditional access and some of the things you can do. But we just want to reinforce the different concepts and why you need Microsoft Entra if you're in the Microsoft 365 environment. So why don't you take it away, Chris?
So a lot of people might in the realm, Entra, they might still call it Azure Active Directory. Now it's been taken over by Entra, and it's encompassing the same concepts you might have seen us say in previous videos with Azure Active Directory. You got conditional access, requiring certain MFA strengths. Maybe you don't want them having text or email-based MFA. You want to enforce the strongest form or phishing resistant MFA, country blocks, all sorts of different conditions you can set with conditional access. So it's really gonna make it a more secure environment because, as Brian said I think in several previous videos, is out of the box, it's just not as secure. Like someone needs to manage it and configure certain things differently depending on the organization. Another thing is it has sort of like OneDrive where you can sign in from any device. It has that. It has sign in. You can sign in from multiple devices and access all your resources. It has risk-based adaptive access policy. So there's a whole risky sign-in section, and you can go there and see for example, if somebody logged in Los Angeles, and then an hour later they logged in from Boston, Massachusetts at Logan Airport, Microsoft risky sign-ins would detect that it's physically impossible for them to get there in that amount of time and would flag the sign-in.
Right. So with that sort of thing too, you got to remember you're going to want to set up your alerting because you can't go into the portal every day and nobody has time for that. So you're going to want to set up your alerting so that if you do see a risky sign in, it's going to send you an email letting you know of that situation. So you just go in and check all your settings and make sure you have your alerting tuned so you don't lose sight of this stuff. And it doesn't hurt from time to time to go in and check the portal because maybe your alerting is broken or something like that. Somebody's got to check the portal from time to time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really good today because you have so many different Microsoft 365 products from Copilot, Office apps, OneDrive, SharePoint site. Like Entra ID would allow you to manage all your user identities for various applications. It integrates with applications. You got things like single sign-on to maybe certain SaaS applications you have that can utilize Microsoft single sign-on. It can protect your identity, at least your Microsoft 365 identity, not your physical identity. I think that would be important to make.
So it's important that we use a lot of acronyms. So SaaS meaning software as a service. Basically, a lot of these portals that you log into, Salesforce, for example, for your Salesforce CRM system, usually those big name products like that tie into the identity products from Microsoft, like Entra.
Yeah, it ultimately it matters because it's protecting your digital assets. A lot of small businesses might be like, well, I just have email in there, right? And it may be sensitive, some of them, the emails, and maybe a small SharePoint site. But there's a lot of organizations that leverage more than that. Like they live out of their Microsoft 365 account. So all their whole business life lives in there. And this also brings up another important topic, which is privileged identity management. So it allows you to control and monitor any accounts that have elevated permissions. Say you're in some kind of situation where you co-manage something and some user requires some sort of elevated administrator, exchange admin, some sort of administrator privileges. This would allow you to control and monitor that type of activity.
Excellent. Yeah, so you can see all the tie-ins. And in the old way, you do it on premise. You have Active Directory and things like that. But essentially, they moved it to the cloud and just added all these different integrations and features to it so that, like Chris said, your digital estate is sitting there in Microsoft 365 for a lot of people, but are you actually fine-tuning it and looking at the logs and making sure you're utilizing the proper integrations?
Let's see. Is there anything we missed? I mean, you could tie in. Did we mention password sign-in? So with Windows Hello for Business, all that stuff I would imagine is going to integrate into this somehow. So how you manage that kind of functionality, with signing in without passwords, pass keys, all that fun stuff would be leveraged through Entra ID.
Which we see, we use products like Duo, which utilize tokens and smartphones. And so you got those tie-ins, and all these settings can be done from Microsoft Entra. And Microsoft is making it so that's more and more locked down. So it's not quite as easy. So for example, like we had somebody that we were dealing with the other day, they couldn't get Duo on their phone for whatever reason, the application. So they had to use SMS. So now Microsoft has locked it down. So you have to go into Entra and allow that capability because it's a less secure way of doing MFA. So important your IT people know Entra inside and out, because it is sort of like, you can think of it as if you leave that door open too much, you might open the door to the rest of your digital assets in the cloud.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in there that with the whole, most of these people leveraging this probably have some form into MDM. It's worth noting that like this functionality before it ever became Entra, like rooted Android devices, jailbroken iPhones, it would prevent sign into that because that is a security risk. While it's fun to do, maybe rooting your device or doing some kind of tinkering and advanced customizations to your phone like that can expose it. And if they're using that personal phone to access those resources, you could have it just block anything that's rooted or jailbroken. And in that term, it's like an elevated permission of the device. So like rooted, it would be the acronym for Android, jailbroken with like Cydia installer on something like an iPhone.
Right. So then you'd have the tie-in with the mobile device management Intune piece that talks to this, and it all sort of fits. Microsoft has it fitting nicely together. All right, we'll wrap there, Chris. Hey, thanks a lot.
All right, have a good one.